Welcome to the Hard Rock Casino in Hollywood, Florida. It's the main event of the night. I want a good, clean fight. I will not tolerate anything less. Touch gloves, go back to your corner. Let's get ready to rock and roll.
So Troy Watt barking the commands there. You see Nick Agallar trying to spring the upset against Jorge Masvidal. Masvidal, Jay, the picture of focus as usual.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, looking at Nick Agallar today, he's huge for 155, man.
Yeah, he is a big guy. I thought he was a welterweight or a middleweight when I first saw him. Jorge Masvidal, maybe not as wide, but certainly has a couple inches on Nick Agallar.
Fight!
All right, the action gets underway. It is the final bout of the evening. Who will move on to the semifinals of the Bellator lightweight tournament? $25,000 in hand to the winner and a chance to win $175,000 in just 3 months' time. Also, a world title potentially on the line if you win 3 fights.
And Masvidal just happy controlling the center of the ring, sizing up Nick Agallar here. Kind of seen when his openings are.
We asked Masvidal about his game plan. He said Nick Agallar would be a dead man walking.
Masvidal was over one of the pre-fight interviews that said, I wanted to talk to the camera and tell him I'm going to kick his ass.
Yeah, let me stare into the camera.
Let me talk some smack.
Agalar, though, won't be surprised with anything he sees in the cage tonight. As we mentioned, a veteran of 26 mixed martial arts fights. He's only been finished by strikes twice in those 26 fights. So not a guy who falls victim to the KO or the TKO easy.
Not at all. Oh, some punches while Agalar was covering up.
Jay, this could be over. This could be Troy Watt
over really quick. Agalar needs to do it. Oh, it's over!
That will over. No time to waste. 1 minute, 19 seconds into the opening round. Jorge Masvidal disposes of Nick Agallar. End of discussion. Agallar exit cage left. Jorge Masvidal making a major statement in his Bellator debut. He wins $25,000. More importantly, a spot in the semifinals of the Bellator lightweight tournament.
Yeah, it just looked like Masvidal overwhelmed Agalar there. It looked like Masvidal may have hit him with one hand that kind of stunned him. Took Nick a second to get his wits back about him. And in the meantime, Masvidal hopped all over him, and that's what's important. You see a guy get wounded, you got to go in for the kill.
Damas y caballeros, el referee Troy Wall para la contienda con un tiempo oficial de 1 minuto 19 segundos el primer asalto. Ladies and gentlemen, referee Troy Wall stops this bout with an official time of 1 minute 19 seconds of the very first round. Your winner, by way of technical knockout, el vencedor por nocaut técnico. Y avanzando a la segunda ronda de Bellator Fighting Championships. And moving on to the next round of Bellator Fighting Championships, Jorge Masvidal.
Fighters have gone over the rules in the back. There are no final questions from you, Blue. No final questions from you, Red. Touch gloves, come out ready to fight.
So Jorge Masvidal, as he tries to put that inverted triangle choke, lost to Toba Imada. Behind him, gets it going tonight against Eric Reynolds. And one of the big challenges for Jorge Masvidal in his MMA career is cutting down to 155 pounds. Didn't have to do that. This is a catchweight fight at 160 against Eric Reynolds. So that certainly wasn't a factor as Jorge Masvidal got ready for the fight tonight.
This is an interesting matchup. Both of these guys on paper are very, very similar. Both guys like to stand and bang, about the same as far as grappling edge. Got to give a little edge in the wrestling department to Masvidal. Lightning quick jab there, just connected.
And of course, we mentioned both guys want to strike, they want to stand and trade, but Masvidal said, maybe tonight I get the first submission victory of my career.
And I don't think that would be a bad call. I mean, I think that he did expose a little a little chink in the armor of Eric Reynolds there, being submitted by a guy who's notoriously a good striker. And we see Masvidal there, almost went for the double leg.
And you know, some have said that Eric Reynolds was a custom-made opponent for Jorge Masvidal, given stylistically what he likes to do, but maybe that's selling Eric Reynolds short a little bit in terms of his striking. We saw what he did against Thomas Schulte, never really able to get off against Eddie Alvarez, but make no mistake about it, Eric Reynolds is an elite striker. We mentioned the Muay Thai National Championship. He can stand and bang with the best of them, trying to prove that he can hang with the best lightweights in the world here tonight.
Well, you know, this is a really good matchup on paper. I mean, oh, nice. Masvidal doing a good job of fighting the double leg there. And now he gets the fight to the ground where he wanted it.
And again, this is where Jorge Masvidal is just so dangerous.
Jorge Masvidal is dangerous everywhere, man. But yeah, I definitely think this is a very almost custom-made opponent because everything that Eric Reynolds does, Masvidal does a little bit better. But, you know, Eric Reynolds didn't get to be 11-2, you know, by luck. Almost all of his fights except for one fight, he's finished. 6 knockouts, 4 submissions. You know, I've gotten to train a little bit with Jorge Masvidal, you know, when I'm down there at ATT, and Masvidal's a lot better on the ground and a lot better at wrestling than you'd think. I mean, he's got great instincts. You see there, Reynolds was on a single leg and he wasn't able to finish the takedown. Masvidal's really dangerous in a lot of areas.
Great ground and pound, great striking on his feet. Above average takedown defense as well as longtime trainer Eric Tiger Castanos in his corner once again here tonight. American top team well represented.
You know, one of the things that Masvidal is actually really good at is when guys are in on single legs, he snakes in a funky front guillotine choke. He actually caught me with it while we were training. We were sparring, and it wasn't long until I shot in on him, and he caught me with the guillotine. He said, man, I get everybody with that. So might be something to watch out for if Reynolds tries a takedown.
And, you know, we also point out Masvidal really did dominate the action against Toby Imada in those first 2 rounds. I know some scorecards had Imada getting it done there in the second round, but I really thought it was all Jorge Masvidal, and then just got caught in a submission that we've really never seen before executed like that in a mixed martial arts fight. So Jorge Masvidal's star really hasn't diminished a whole lot. He's trying to get back in that W column here tonight.
You know, they say you can tell a lot about a fighter after the first time he gets hit. You know, you'll get hit and people will either get a little glove shy, and we see that happen a lot. Even guys like George St. Pierre, after getting knocked out by Matt Serra, a little bit more glove shy and timid now. Jorge Masvidal, not the case. If you hit him, you better hit him a bunch of times because he's going to press forward. He's a very aggressive fighter here.
You see Masvidal doing a nice job keeping that chin down and his hands up while he strikes. Reynolds better keep those hands up or he could get caught here.
Both guys still kind of in the feeling out process, although Masvidal seems to get the better of the punches. Not putting a bunch of combinations together, but he has been landing clean. Oh, nice body shot. It buckled Reynolds.
Reynolds shaking his head. Of course, you always see fighters when they do get stung shake the head and say, it didn't hurt me. Well, it did.
It's ironic. If you noticed it enough to say it didn't hurt you, guess what? You got hurt.
Right. So Masvidal doing a nice job, really economical with his strikes here. When he does throw, getting it right through the middle there. Pepper in the body.
What's ironic, too, is that these guys have a lot of reach. You don't see a lot of fighters at 155 pounds that far apart when they're throwing punches. I mean, they're a good 1.5 to 2 feet more in distance, but both of these guys just have crazy gorilla reach.
Yeah, a couple lightweights pushing 6 feet here tonight.
Eric Reynolds has got to be careful. He keeps putting his head in that same position. Whenever Masvidal throws punches, he covers up and puts it right in the pocket. And it's only going to be a matter of time until Masvidal realizes he can throw a knee to the head of Reynolds. He just keeps getting predictable there. Well, speaking of knee, Eric Reynolds decides to throw one against Masvidal.
Masvidal doing a nice job defensively. A lot of good head movement here early on and a lot of respect between these 2 strikers. Give me a second round. It's yours when we return. So I know, Chambers, you sort of wish you were in the Masvidal corner here tonight. What would you tell him?
I think that I see a habit forming with Eric Reynolds. Every time Eric Reynolds is under fire, he covers up and puts his head down and forward about 8 inches, and I think that's a great time to throw a flying knee or throw a knee at the center and a big uppercut and mix it up a little bit. But, you know, the corner of Masvidal, fantastic, and they don't need me to tell them what to do.
And, of course, the Reynolds corner looking for some combinations, just looking for a little more activity with his hands. We know Reynolds has the power in both his legs and in his hands. You know, he needs to get that volume striking going.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's what his corner was telling him, too, is let's get the combinations going. And wisely on the part of Masvidal's corner, they said he's getting ballsy, to coin the term, and, you know, he's throwing a lot more punches. Play it safe, take him down. So let's see if he can execute that. Inside leg trip. He's got Toby Imada with that, and he catches Eric Reynolds with that.
And this, perhaps Jorge Masvidal's best asset is his ground and pound. You see just how quick he is with that right hand. And Reynolds is back to his feet, but taking a lot of punishment along the way.
Masvidal did a really good job of just keeping the heat on him there. Nice single leg.
And again, you see how long Masvidal can remain or get in a dominant position here. Reynolds very active from his guard.
Yeah, very good. You know, the referee telling him to watch the back of the neck. You got to be really careful those elbows don't come down on the back of the head or the spine. Masvidal very dangerous from this position. Likes to posture up around big bombs, and this is the part where the referee can think there's not enough action. Reynolds is doing a good job. He didn't absorb too much punishment there, and he is staying active from the bottom, so it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Masvidal clearly feels confident with taking Eric Reynolds down. Didn't feel like he saw a lot there with the Alvarez fight that would stop him from going for takedowns.
Couple huge right hands land clean for Jorge Masvidal, and Eric Reynolds showing off the chin a little bit. He's taken a lot of big blows here in the second round, but doesn't seem to be too phased. Great little elbow there to the body for Jorge Masvidal.
Jorge Masvidal, he's using his right hand to push down on the knee of Eric Reynolds. He's trying to pass the guard. If he can pass guard and get in a little more advantageous position, he's going to look for a submission.
And again, you see how calculated Masvidal is. Doesn't waste a lot of motion.
Oh, there's that front choke. He gets in on that guillotine a lot. But like you said, you're right. He doesn't waste too much motion. I mean, he feels really good throwing leather, and whether that's from a standing position or not, doesn't really make a big difference.
And we mentioned Masvidal wouldn't mind getting that first submission victory under his belt, but the way he's pounding away right now, maybe he'll get the win with striking. You see Reynolds' head bounce up off the canvas.
Oh, you see Eric Reynolds look for the referee there for a second. The referee can't step in and save you. I don't know if he got poked in the eye or something.
Looked like maybe he was complaining about a shot to the back of the head, but you're right. Actively complaining to the ref, ain't gonna get it done, and he eats a big knee for his trouble.
And didn't even look phased. Oh, there. This could be the end of it. It looked like he caught him with one that stunned him when he turned his back.
Yeah, and you have to think Masvidal knows Reynolds is in trouble. Are we about to see the first submission win of Masvidal's career, or is Reynolds gonna get a second life here?
Well, Masvidal's doing a good job of getting wrist control if he can get that left hand free and cinch it up. Oh, that's pretty tight. I don't know how deep it is, though.
Eric Reynolds able to get out. Now Masvidal trying with his other arm.
Well, Masvidal did a good job. He just transitioned to a head and arm triangle. He's going to try to lock that up, flatten his body out, and squeeze and get some good pressure here on the side. This is a triangle choke. That looks like it could be pretty deep. Eric Reynolds is doing the right thing to defend. He's bringing his left hand by his ear. And Masvidal really showing off the submission ability. Decides to abandon it, moving him out.
Well, we saw from Eric Reynolds in his semifinal with Eddie Alvarez, he fish hooked himself in trying to get some air into the passageway against Eddie Alvarez. He's shocked that he does that again, and now as you see Masvidal work into the full mount, Eric Reynolds is in a whole lot of trouble.
Eric Reynolds is going to need to do something here. The ref is going to step in. Well, he did do a good job. You know, to Eric Reynolds' credit, he has done a good job of defending a lot of positions and a lot of strikes. He was in a few compromising positions. That just shows you that Eric Reynolds is a weathered veteran.
Very tough guy, showing off the chin here tonight, has absorbed a whole lot of punishment, a lot of Masvidal bombs landing clean here. And Eric Reynolds still in the fight as we go under 30 seconds in round number 2. Will Reynolds survive and get into the third and final round? You know, we mentioned Masvidal, most of his wins coming by TKO or knockout. Hasn't really needed to go to the submission in his career. Has been able to finish guys with his strikes. Will he get the submission win tonight? I think more importantly, just getting that win. The third round is yours when we return. So the Jorge Masvidal corner asked for a lot more in round number 2, and they certainly got it.
That round was all Jorge Masvidal. He did a really good job of listening to his corner and executing that game plan. The corner said, take it down. That's exactly what he did, and he showed just how versatile he is. I mean, he threw a bunch of punches on the ground, has really good base, good posture, looked for the finish, good killer instincts, and then you see here, when Jorge throws that knee, the second one connects right on the temple of Eric Reynolds, but didn't shake him up as much as you'd think a clean knee would. Well, that right hand, though, definitely did.
Yeah, and really impressed with the chin on Eric Reynolds. You see so many guys would succumb to a knee like that, and Jay, I don't know how you scored that second round, but could have been a 10-8 round, given just how much damage was sustained by Eric Reynolds.
I definitely think that could have been a 10-8 round. It was all Eric Reynolds on the defense that round.
Right. So Jorge Masvidal, you know he wants the finish here. Of course, the loss to Toby Imada last month in the semifinal round, that ridiculous inverted triangle choke, and Jorge Masvidal showing you that there's a whole lot of fight left in Gamebred as he makes his third Bellator appearance here tonight.
The best thing about Jorge Masvidal is that he's just exciting to watch. He doesn't have boring fights ever. He's one of the few guys that if it goes to the decision, you're not going to hear a boo the whole time because he's constantly bringing it. He's taking punishment to give it.
And even in the Toby Imada fight, a lot of guys would have just circled the cage and coasted to the unanimous decision win, but he chose to continue to engage with Toby Imada and eventually paid the price for being a little bit too aggressive. But you're right, a very entertaining, stylistically pleasing fighter.
Masvidal does a good job of working the body. It's something you don't see a lot in mixed martial arts, is guys going downstairs and throwing those liver shots a la Bas Rutten or just those straight rights to the body. Oh, nice double leg.
And again, Eric Reynolds really is fatigued after all the damage that he's sustained in the first 2 rounds. So you see Jorge Masvidal sort of deviating from the strategy a little bit, or changing up the strategy and going for the takedown.
Let's go, guys. Keep working here.
Well, you know, Jorge just wants to show that he's well-versed, and I think this is a great time to do it. He doesn't want to take any chances with a guy who's a good striker.
Right, keep working.
Eric Reynolds is imploring the referee, Jason Herzog, for something. Not the best time to talk to the ref.
And again, you see the choke in there. Eric Reynolds wincing a little bit. Maybe he pulls out the fish hook here.
Well, there's no pressure on that guillotine that Eric Reynolds is trying to work there. He doesn't have the pressure to get it. It's tight and it's going to be uncomfortable, but Masvidal knows that he just needs to work the position a little more, put a forearm across the face of Reynolds to create that space. If he gets his right arm out and puts it across the throat of Eric Reynolds to create a little more leverage. And he's out.
And now again, the full mount for Jorge Masvidal, and trying to get it going here, trying to finish Eric Reynolds, but ER is not going to be finished easily. You know, we didn't know a whole lot about Eric Reynolds coming into the Bellator Fighting Championships, and this is a gifted lightweight. I mean, this is a guy that has shown that he can hang with the best lightweights in the world. Went into the 3rd round with Eddie Alvarez, and now he's here midway through the 3rd round against Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah, I would say if there's one person that's had a roster of tough fights in Bellator, it's Eric Reynolds.
Yeah.
The underdog against the highly touted Thomas Schulte, and fighting a top 10 guy in Eddie Alvarez, and arguably a top 15 guy in Jorge Masvidal, and you know, doing well. He's not being dominated to the point where, you know, he's been able to defend the chokes and hang in there.
And you see the frustration visibly on the face of Eric Reynolds. He knows he's down on the scorecards. You just wonder how much is left in the tank, and Masvidal has the back now and might be leaning closer to that first ever submission victory.
Well, Masvidal sinks in the anaconda there when he figure fours the legs. It just creates so much more. Oh, that was beautiful. Masvidal sunk in the rear naked choke while Eric Reynolds started talking to the referee. It's all over. First submission win for Jorge Masvidal.
Well, exactly how he told us during the pre-fight interview. Jorge Masvidal looking to get that first submission win, and he gets it. Eric Reynolds falling victim to the rear naked choke for the 2nd time here in the Bellator Fighting Championships, and it wasn't easy for Jorge Masvidal, but he made it look easy. Eric Reynolds absorbing a whole lot of punishment there. Eventually he succumbs, and Jorge Masvidal now can put that inverse triangle choke loss to Toby Imada in the rearview mirror. He is back in the win column here tonight.
Damas y caballeros, la esquina azul se rinde con un tiempo oficial de 3 minutos 33 segundos del tercer asalto. Ladies and gentlemen, the blue corner taps out with an official time of 3 minutes 33 seconds of the 3rd and final round. Your winner by way of submission, el ganador por sumisión, from the MIA, Jorge Gamebred Masvidal.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Francis Ngannou. Subscribe now.